Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mysterious Huntsman Podcast. Tonight we're going to be hearing amazing accounts by Dennis and Christina in Kentucky. They're going to be telling us their accounts of UFO experiences in the Red River Gorge in Kentucky. And for those of you that don't know, Kentucky is filled with strange accounts of cryptid activity, ghosts, and UFOs. So let's listen in. Hey, good evening, Dennis and Christina. Guys, I'm glad you contacted me, and I know you're up in the Kentucky area around, I think, or you've had some experiences around the Red River Gorge, and you're actually into one of my favorite topics of all time. It is, you've had some UFO sightings. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, man, again, thank you for coming on, and why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about what's going on?
All right, well, this took place, I guess we're at June 5th now, and this took place about 6 weeks ago. It was something like that. Yeah, a couple months ago, I guess, at the most. Something like, because it was back at the end of March. Yeah, it was the very end of March. Yeah. It was at the end of March. So we're diehard campers, and I've been going out to the Red River Gorge for about 25 years now, and I've never had something on this level happen before. I've had other experiences that maybe could be for another show sometime, but this particular one, there's a mountain that I go up to, and all I'm going to say for anybody that does know about that gorge, this is up in the Indian Creek area, and there's a particular mountain that I know about. And you have a beautiful overlook once you finally get up there of a spanning valley that goes north and south, and the sun sets directly out in front of you. And there's a beautiful rock tower that stands about, about 200 feet, something like that, 150 feet up from the valley floor that just jumps up. And the Red River Gorge used to be the bottom of the ocean a whole long time ago, and they estimate that these mountains were once as tall as the Himalayas are now. So they're only about 1,000 feet in elevation at this point from all the weathering. So we went out there. I've been going out to this particular mountain, like I say, for 25 years, and this was my fiance's first time ever going there, oddly enough. And so I've been telling her about it, and finally we get up there, and we were laying in the hammock. We had spent the whole day up there, perusing around, gathering firewood, setting up our camp, just enjoying ourselves. And eventually, I guess it was about maybe around 5 or 6, something like that.
Maybe a little bit earlier,
maybe
afternoon,
4.
3:30, 4.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's hard to say.
Yeah, something like that. It was, mid-afternoon, and we decided we were going to relax and just lay in our hammock. We have a 2-person hammock, so we got in there, and we were laying there for probably about 10 minutes, 5 minutes. We were just laying there, and it was a very clear blue sky up ahead with clouds off to the west. Not a whole lot of cloud cover. Pretty clear sky. Directly above us was clear. And so we're laying there talking, and what appeared first as nothing but white, and Christina can add some detail to this as I unfold, but what I personally saw was a white object coming towards us with no wings and no obvious propulsion system. It made no sound, and as I saw it, she saw it, and we both kind of chuckled that it's coming right at us, and it probably sees us. And we're watching it, watch us, watch it, and it's coming right at us. And it came down to about, I want to say that when I first saw it, it was probably about if I really could put a good guess on it, I honestly, I would say from my position, it was probably a half a mile away. It wasn't that far, probably 2,500 to 3,000 feet. And it quickly got right on top of us with no sound. And as it came over to our, like if I'm looking straight up, it was at my 11 o'clock. And it came right diagonally down to me from my 11 o'clock from the sky. It came down and then made a hard, what would be a hard right turn for the craft, made a real hard right bend and showed itself. So I could see the horizontal shape of it, which was basically, to me, it looked like a white cylindrical, like cigar type shape, but not real long. It was, I'd say about 4 times as long as it was tall. And it made no sound, had no wings, no propulsion, and, that you could see as obvious. And it made that bend and then just slowly crept past us. And it had descended from the original viewpoint. It had descended at least 50% back down to us. So it was very visible at this point. I think that this thing was probably about, I would say it was probably about 1,500 feet in the sky. It wasn't even that high at that point. And it just slowly, it made no qualms about traveling what appeared to be in a slow speed to me from my reference point. It did not speed up. It did not alter itself. It didn't try to hide itself. It just slowly crept past until it finally was not there. And we realized that we just had an experience. And that was actually just the first part of this. There's a whole lot more that happens, but I want Christina to kind of talk about for a second what she saw as it slowly crept past us, because that's the best description that my eyes can see, but she has better than 20/20 vision, and she could see a lot more into it than I could.
Yeah.
So
I also stepped out of the hammock to look at it after it had descended from the sky and hovered slowly over top of us after it made that bend. So I think it was much further away than that in the sky when we first saw it, and it just moved through space and time unlike anything I had ever seen up until that point, like not like third dimensional things too. And when I got out of the hammock to try to get a closer look at it, I felt like I was only seeing one part of something that was incredibly massive and right over top of us. And while it looked white and silver almost from further away, when it was so close to us, it was not any one color. It looked like it was reflecting the light the way that like bubbles do or crystals. It was very, very interesting and, like I said, unlike anything I had ever seen or experienced up until that point in my life. But yeah, that was my experience of that first.
So this goes a lot further, though.
Well,
that was just the beginning.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And can I stop us right there for a second and just, if you don't mind me asking you a couple of questions up until that point, and
Sure.
then you can go further. Did you guys happen to have any other senses feeling like any? I know you said you didn't really hear noise, but did you have any other senses going on, like any kind of smells, tastes, or like nervousness or fear or anything going on like that?
I've had several encounters like this, but this was obviously the closest and most up in my face. And I wasn't afraid at all. I was more excited about it than anything, to be honest with you. And the fact that it happened at a special sacred spot that I've been going to for so long that really I've never seen another person there because they don't know my trail out to these ridges. I bushwhacked these trails when I was 19 years old, and I'm 44 now. And nobody else goes out there. So like I was totally at peace and felt very comfortable. But I will say that preluding that, we both had the sensation before this for a couple hours that we were being watched somehow.
That's what I was going to say. We both definitely felt and knew that somewhere something was observing us.
We just felt that, yeah. And then they came to us like 2 hours later. But before that, we had made the comment to each other. We kind of knew that for some reason, we didn't know if it was just spirits watching us or what, but we felt like we were being observed in some fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't really had that overwhelming feeling ever up there.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, you said you've been going out there a long time. Is there something that's been drawing you to that place, or you just really like the area?
Both.
Okay.
I was standing in Indian Creek one day in the afternoon when I was 19 in the summertime with 3 other friends, and I just felt this calling to this mountain, and I looked at them while we were washing off in the creek, and I said, I want to go sleep up there tonight. And they said, okay. So we went up there, and we found a deer trail, and we followed it up, and it led us to a corner, and then we actually we found the corner the next day. The first night we slept underneath there because I think it started raining that night, actually. So we slept underneath a rock outcropping. But anyhow, I felt like compelled to go up there. Something when I was 19 just kind of, I feel like my intuition is pretty strong. And when I get a sense of it, I follow it. And they were with it, so that's how we stumbled across this place.
All right, yeah, cool. I mean, yeah, you really want to follow these urges sometimes when you can, and of course your senses will tell you if it's something you should push into, or it'll tell you if it's something you should be fearful of. So,
right.
I would.
Yeah, I was a little nervous when it first started making its descent towards us. I'm not gonna lie, because I'd never experienced anything like that before. I did have a little bit of fear, but once it was right over top of us, and I saw like how beautiful and light it was, like I didn't feel very much fear. I felt just excited,
right,
and very intrigued.
Yeah, and this is a standard question, and I'm sure you've heard of this before, but have you guys ever experienced any kind of missing time?
Missing time?
No, I know what you're speaking about, but I personally have not felt that from this type of experience. I think I've felt it from getting very heavy into yoga before, but not from UFO encounters.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't think I've experienced that, but the white cylindrical shape that we first saw flying towards us when we were in the Red River Gorge, I also continued to see that shape in the sky a couple of times when we returned back to Louisville. It did not fly as close towards me, but I did see that same thing in the sky, and I know it was not an airplane. It felt like it was the same type of thing.
Gotcha. Well, all right. Well, yeah, like I said, I didn't mean to stop you. I don't have anything to jot down notes. I have to ask you when I'm thinking about it, so I hope I didn't interrupt you too much. But go ahead with your...
No, you're fine, Paul.
All right, well, go ahead with your story, man.
Okay, so that happened, and I think some time elapsed after that. Then we started watching sunset. So this is when we kind of get kicked into second and third gear here, and then we go full on down into fifth gear later because the whole thing just escalates. So we sat back and watched sunset, and at some point we started seeing other crafts flying around, and we just noticed. We were like, oh my gosh, this is not aircraft that we've seen before.
I saw that weird thing explode.
Well, hold on. Yeah, I was going to get there. So we were kind of seeing some stuff that was grabbing our attention that was higher up. It wasn't close to us. It was, more, I'd say several miles up. And so at some point I had to go do it, when nature calls. So I'm off to the side, and she starts going off while I'm urinating. What'd you say?
It is very hard to describe. what I saw, but it affected me very physically. Like, I felt what was happening. My heart started racing, and I had to sit down, and it looked like something shot something else in the sky, and it blew up, and I was watching the aftermath of it blow up, but it was a perfect like black cylinder in the sky against the sunset. Unlike all of the clouds behind it, it was like I was looking at a beautiful painting, and somebody had stuck this thing that I had never seen before over top of it, and it was really affecting my physical body as I was observing it. And
she was going off. She was saying, "Oh my gosh, something blew up, something exploded." And so, I'm looking the other direction. I'm like 75 feet away in the other, out in the woods there for a second. And so I come bouncing back out of there, back off to the overlook, back to the clearing, and I look over what she's pointing at, and I could see where there was actual smoke it was in a tube form, almost like a worm, like a worm growing, like coming at you. And it was you could tell it was smoke though. I could see what she was talking about, like something had been blown up, and you could see it coming down. And so I'm going to go ahead and throw my 2 cents in the speculation pile and say that I think that she really did see something get shot and blown up. And because the reason why is because next, about 5 minutes later, after that craft went down in the valley below us, we heard an incredible howling scream that was guttural and huge, like louder than I could possibly yell ever in my life. And I've got pretty big lungs. This thing was magnified, and it was obviously upset and in pain, and it was shrieking and yelling for about a minute and a half. And we both were getting a little bit anxious at that point, and she turned to me and was like, "Are we safe?" And I said, "Well, think of how far we came up to get on this mountain. You can't just levitate up here, And so I was like, "Yeah, I think we're pretty safe, and plus I got my big half Rottweiler dog here with me. I think we're okay." So,
this was not
this was nothing like unlike anything. And I've heard some weird stuff in the woods, but this was unlike anything I'd ever heard. And it's like 5 minutes after this thing got shot down in front of us. And so our best guesstimate is that we actually saw like one of the bad guys get shot down, and he was dying out there in a valley below us. I mean, it was, I can't, it was so loud and powerful and just blood curdling. I mean, it was unlike anything I've ever, I can't quite describe it just because it was so Hollywood, it was so other world sounding. It wasn't like something I can replicate at all.
Right.
And it was very upset, and it sounded like it was dying. It really sounded like a swan song, like it was dying.
Now, did you guys happen to have, I mean, I know you were caught up in the moment, but did you happen to think about taking any pictures or your phone, or maybe getting an audio recorded?
I did not have my phone with me, but I got some pictures of craft that I spotted in the city after this event.
Yeah,
okay.
She's got a few pictures. She's got some very nice pictures of several different experiences in different places here in Kentucky that happened for like 10 days after this event here. It kept happening to her while I was at work. And I'm indoors a lot of time at work, and so I wasn't having this experience, but she kept on coming home with these pictures for over a week.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it wasn't just this one thing that we encountered, besides the whole episode. It was ongoing. But,
right. Well, I would love to see, I mean, if I wouldn't release them, but I would love to see some of these photos if you get a chance to send them over to me.
Yeah, I think we're totally fine with that, because people that respect the idea that there could actually be something else in the universe besides us floating in this galaxy.
It's important that the truth gets out there, because the mainstream media will try to twist this into something that it is not. But,
yeah, exactly. But if you've noticed in the past few months, the media has actually softened up a little bit and stepped up. I mean, with the release of the Navy and the Air Force or the Pentagon talking about, okay, we have been researching this, we just haven't been telling anyone, and we don't, they're not saying what they're researching. They just know that they have some unidentified aircraft that they can't explain, and their pilots are chasing, and they're releasing videos now. So I think things are opening up for us. So it may become easier than you think.
Yeah, and that's great.
Well, maybe that's just the age of information kicking wide open.
Right. Right.
I think that's doing a good thing.
So there's more to this though, because we haven't gotten to the icing yet.
Well, I'll stop talking. You go ahead.
So that was sunset. Now at sundown, we're laying in our hammock and between laying in the hammock and sitting out on the ledge out there, where you can see the whole sky. Between that whole time, we're sitting there for 2 or 3 hours back and forth, and we're watching now several craft flying all around, and it became apparent to us that the ones with red lights are not friendly, and the ones with the whiter lights and sometimes it looked like sometimes maybe they had like other, like maybe blue and green. Sometimes I could see other colors, but
it really felt and looked like we were witnessing a battle of some kind.
Yeah, it was. It went on for like 2 hours, and I mean, I've been going out there for so long, and I have had a different encounter with 2 other people out there back in 2013. I had with 2 friends that are very familiar with that mountain, and we had a craft fly over us out there back then. But what we saw and witnessed, took place. It was cinematic in the sense that it took place for hours. It wasn't just a 5-minute or a 1-minute occurrence. This was for hours. It went on for hours, and we watched these crafts fly around and do their whatever they were doing up there. And this is after we saw the one get shot down and the scream in the valley and all that. And so then after that whole show takes place for a while, it's March, mind you, so it starts getting cold out in the mountains. So we had our wood gathered, and I decided to start a fire. And this is where it takes a whole nother level. This is where it just escalates. As soon as I got the fire, and I build small teepee fires, I built a small enough one, it's about a 1-foot flame, maybe 14 inches. And as soon as that thing got roaring and lit up is when something happened that I'll never be able to lose from my sight of my mind's eye. Like, what I saw is so burnt into my existence now that I'm probably gonna have to make a painting of it, one day, just to do it some service or whatever. But as soon as that fire got lit, we realized that there was a craft about 900 feet away from us, if not closer, because the way you can judge it is spanning across the valley. And you can see across. I've been looking at this valley for a long time. I know how big it is. It's like maybe 1,000 feet across at some points, and at other points it gets a little wider to like maybe 1,500. It's not real wide across. And this thing it lit us up with lights. And so as soon as I lit the fire, from my 10 o'clock was this, in the middle was a very large white light with 2 smaller lights about half its size on either side of it. And it lit up. And I mean, it lit way up. It was so bright. It lit up for like, I want to say at least a minute. It wasn't just like a 2-second flash. Yeah, like a minute and a half. It was a while just looking at these bright lights, and you could see that it was below the tree line, you could see that because there's a farm out in the distance across the valley. You can see the farm light that's out there, and the pole is like 25 feet tall, and it's on top of that, right at the tree line. And this thing was below the tree line, inside the gorge, in the cliffside, right there, right across from us. I mean, right directly across from us. It was not in the sky. It was not any. It was right across from us, and it lit us up. And it stayed lit for a while, and that's when we kind of got a little closer to each other, and we're like, well, what happens next? And you could see that eventually I saw it like kind of bow. It sagged to the right just a little bit, like it kind of like winked at us or something. You could see it just kind of bow down a little bit and rise back up. It just did a real little quiver and rose back up, and I was like, there's no way this is human made. There's no way that you can construct this. Like you can't come out here with floodlights and do this. Like there's no way this is people. And so the grand finale is actually the next morning when we wake up. We slept around our campfire out on the ledge and woke up at sunrise. And when we looked at each other, both of our faces were bright red. Our faces were strawberry bright red, and it wasn't no sunburn. She's Italian, and I'm like 2/3 Native American. So I mean, like we don't get burnt like just laying in the sun for a few hours.
Right.
And our whole faces were extremely bright red. It lasted like that for over a day. Our faces were burnt red from whatever they flashed us with.
Gamma light rays.
I mean, we were literally lit up.
Did it actually feel like a sunburn to the touch?
No, it didn't. No, there was nothing.
I was shocked when I saw my reflection.
Oh, okay.
Because I did not feel burned.
No, it didn't hurt at all. Like there was nothing other physical than the fact that we were bright face red. And like I've been on a lot of beaches and a lot of places. I know what my body does, and right. I'm not going to just turn bright red in my face like that for a day. I mean, we got lit up by a craft, sir, and it was very close to us. And then they turned them off, and I guess they left whatever they did, but I'm telling you, it was well below the tree line. It was right at the rock line that we were on the cliff edge. It was right at the same level with us, and it was right there. I mean, I got a pretty good arm. I bet you I could throw a baseball like 3 times and probably hit. That's how close they were. If my ball rolled, in the field, like I think I could throw a ball 3 times, and that's how close they were.
To me, it felt like for the latter part of the light show in the sky, it went from like feeling very heavy and like it was a battle between the red and the white lights to towards the end of it felt like more celebratory, and there were just more white lights, and it was like they were like playing.
Yeah, it did. It seemed like it was a battle.
Feeling kind of uneasy, or like I was watching Star Wars, so like I was watching a beautiful fireworks show.
Right. That's amazing. It's very interesting. Now, and I've got to ask, is this a place that, I mean, like, I know you don't want to tell anyone where this is, but is this a place where if I made a trip up there, you could show me the spot?
Yeah. If you got hiking legs and if you got bushwhacking mentality.
It's not easy to get to.
No, I think I could hang with you. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's
I think anywhere in this gorge, if you're high enough up and you're there on a good night, you'll see something weird in the sky.
I think that it's just escalated here. I don't know when it started, but I mean, like I said, in 2013, my 2 best friends, 2 of my 3, they were there, and we had, we had a silent craft. It looked nothing like what we saw, nothing like it at all. This thing had like strange, dimly lit like manila white, like this weird colored dull eggshell, like kind of. It was a weird kind of color, and they were just real dim, but it flew right over us and made no sound, and it was very close to us. It was like 800. It was less than 1,000 feet in the sky. It just cruised right over top of us, but I've never seen anything like that one before. And
Right.
I mean, for all I know, that could have been military. For all I know, it was very strange looking, but what she and I witnessed back there in March was just. It was on a whole nother level, like of experience. I mean, I've witnessed a lot of different things. I've been to my dog's been to 38 states with me, and I've got a few on her, and I've been other places in the world, and I've never encountered anything like what that whole episode that we went through. It was life altering because
I felt quite different after getting flashed. I got sick for a couple of days.
Oh yeah, she did. That's
like,
right. You got sick.
I don't know what was happening to me, but it felt great. And then after I got over being sick for about a day and a half, I was like, oh, I feel great too. I felt like we got upgraded.
Yeah, we felt kind of like our DNA got altered in some way. I mean, honestly, it felt like we had some new understanding of things. And I mean, I'm not trying to sound egotistic or anything, but I feel like I was upgraded in some way by our experience. I feel like it was like a welcoming to a higher understanding of things.
Yeah, interesting. And I've got to ask this too. Is that area, does it have a big Native American background to it, or maybe, or
heavily influenced? Yeah, I mean, they call it Indian Creek for a reason.
Right. All right. Yeah, I was just curious because you hear about a lot of this in the types of areas, or for hundreds of years, we've heard like the First Nations or the Native American people speaking of these kind of encounters, and I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I think the Hopi even have some cave paintings out west that kind of unfold their meeting with them.
Yes.
I think it's the Hopi. Yeah.
Yep, they do. I've been to the Four Corners region, and been to a lot of the cliff dwellings out there, and I've seen these with my own eyes. It's incredible. I think maybe they called the Anasazi, or it was the race that kind of just disappeared overnight almost. But it's
that was. Yeah, and I think there's another branch down in Peru, I think, that has the same type of story.
Right.
I don't want to put false information, but I think I remember reading that there was another disappearing tribe, or maybe it was in the Amazon, but I think there's one that's connected to Peru.
Yeah, I think you're maybe right. There's a lot goes on in Peru. They've got the precision cut stone rocks that like interlock together like puzzle pieces. That I think it's at Pumapunku. But just bringing it back to Kentucky, man. Kentucky is full of interesting things, and a lot of people don't know that, but Kentucky has had a lot go on in that one state.
Yeah, we actually went online and looked to see what type of sightings were going on in UFO country, Kentucky, and we actually saw several reports of white cylindrical objects. We saw several on there of other people putting it out there, and so we're that's what our conclusion has come to, is that we're not the only ones but we might be the only ones that are going to speak up, and also that got flashed by a craft in the valley right in front of them. I mean, that's an experience that still, I mean, I still giggle. We were out in the gorge last week, and I was just giggling to her. I was like, we got flashed by a craft out here. It's like that thing that you gotta pinch in your memory one time and go, oh yeah, that was real. You gotta remember, don't forget, that really happened.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. And if you get a chance, look up, and And I totally may be getting this wrong, but I think it's in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, which is down southwest part of the state. But in the 50s,
yeah, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, I think in the 50s or maybe early 60s, they had an encounter. There was a family there that had an encounter that has been on police record that they were actually shooting at these entities that were trying to gain, access to their house.
Wow.
And I can't think of the exact details right now, but yeah, at Hopkinsville, Kentucky, kind of like almost an alien invasion. And there was also reports, maybe might have been more in the 70s or 80s, of a crash that happened between like a fighter pilot that was doing training exercises in that area as well.
Wow.
So yeah, Kentucky's got a lot going on.
It's a beautiful place, and just to put the 2 cents out there to the listeners here, guys, if you need to get away, there's plenty of places in the eastern Kentucky mountains out there in the Red River Gorge area that, it is getting touristy to this point because everything is, but there's enough hidden cracks out there where you can really get away and enjoy yourself and find some privacy. And, it's a great place to stargaze. It's one of the oldest mountain ranges on the planet Earth. And I think it's actually the oldest center right there, like the center of Pangea. And it's a magical place, guys. So if you ever have a chance, go up there. There's like over 100 sandstone and granite arches out there. It's a pretty amazing spot. And we feel like there's got to be plenty of people that have been coming out there at this point that have been stargazing the sky looking that have also come across this. And it seems to me that it's becoming a heightened event out there because it seems like every time we go out there now, we're having experiences, whether it's on a spiritual level or this UFO level or on a delivery of a message type level. It feels like there's some higher frequency to the events that we're coming across because we're noticing these things. We do a lot of hiking out there, and we're noticing when we come to certain places at certain times when it really feels like that the energies are trying to really resonate with the people that are in tune that are out there. I think that that's something that's happening worldwide, and we're not just alone in these experiences. There's probably some couple over in Uganda or somewhere, or Rwanda or wherever, somewhere that's having this experience too. We just happen to be the guys that are out in Kentucky.
Right. And it sounds amazing. I'm just still sitting here waiting on my invite to come up. So you just let me know. You let me know when, and I would try to plan to come up and hike up there with you guys. I would love to just try and experience something like this for myself.
That would be, I'll tell you, Paul, that would be all right, and you would really be blown away. I wouldn't just take you up there, though. If you're going to make the trip up, to do it justice for you, we would have to take you at least one or two other places that we know about that would kind of paint the picture for you, and you'll probably want to come back.
Right. Well, yeah, I do a good bit of hiking down here when I can. I mean, I love camping, hiking, kayaking, anything to do outdoors. And like you said, Kentucky's a beautiful state, and I can't think of a better way to spend a weekend, actually.
Well, we've got your number, and you've got ours, so I think we can make that happen. Well, we are very busy in the sense that we both, I work 2 jobs. Christina's got hers, 8 to 12-hour job, depending on how long the day goes. And once summertime kind of passes, because this is our busy time right now, I'm thinking maybe after we kind of settle down, because we also just bought land out there. And so we are constructing our dreamscape on our land. So it's we're extremely busy, and I'm not trying to give you the cold shoulder. We're very busy right now, but things will settle down for both of us come September. But so if we do not have the schedule right now, it's not that we're just going to drop off and forget about you. We're very busy right now, sir.
Oh no, same here. I will be traveling a good bit this summer with my own job, so the fall sounds great. It's less bugs and a lot cooler. So
it is, and there's fewer people out, and because there's if we go during the week, then there's going to be fewer people congesting the area, the leafers as we call them, and
right.
and it's going to be really pretty, and I think that probably would be the time. But as I told you at the beginning of all this, I've got a whole bunch of stories, so I might just become a superstar here. But
man, you guys are welcome to call in anytime. I'd love to have you back on because, I know you've got a bunch more stories, but we'll just call it part 2 with Dennis and Christina. And man, I can't wait to have you guys back on.
I think we'd be quite happy to do that, and we appreciate the fact that we crossed paths with you, and hope for that somebody out there listening that this shines some type of light in the idea that you might be onto something. Don't let your brain, don't let your mind second guess you too long, or dissuade you from what your intuition might be telling you, because these things are happening, and it's happening for a lot of people. And I think the more that other people that are beginning to kick these walls down in their own world will appreciate the fact that two people that want to tell the truth about something, that maybe it can take you somewhere in your own experience as far as your belief of the fact that we are just tiny little microbes on a big giant planet in the middle of an even more enormous universe that we can't even fathom. So, there's a lot going on out there, guys, and stay on the good side.
Very well said. Very well. Well, man, thank you guys so much, and I can't wait to get to part 2 and just anytime. I mean, I'm free anytime you guys are. But
sure.
Thank you.
I'll be happy just to talk to you from from a friend standpoint, and not on the podcast.
Right. I hear you. Well, and that's kind of, I mean, there are a lot of podcasts out there just like this one, and some of them, I think they try to give their take on everything a little too much rather than letting the actual caller or listeners call in and tell their story. And I wanted to give a platform to a place where people felt safe to come on without, fear of ridicule or fear of judgment. Because, man, everybody's got a story, and I think everybody deserves to be heard. And I just wanted to give them that space to do that in that time, So, I don't, it's just something I've always been into, and I've been ridiculed before and told I was crazy, or get my head out of the stars, whatever. But I just wanted to. We live in a good information age, and things are ramping up, and I just wanted to give people a chance to do that without having those feelings.
I hope that we didn't have a bunch of double echo from the fact that when you talk, because we have you on the speaker through my phone, I hope it doesn't mess up your recording.
No, I don't hear it. I don't hear anything on my end, so so far it sounds good. But guys, I'm going to let you guys go, and like I said, thanks again, and feel free to call back anytime, and we'll get things going.
We'd be more than happy to stay in touch, and everybody, you're listening to a good program, so tune back in.
Thanks. I may have to hire you as my PR guy. But
there you go.
All right. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, everybody be safe.
And that's a wrap on episode 8, UFOs over Kentucky. Thanks again to Dennis and Christina. And thanks again for listening in, guys. Remember, if you have a story you'd like to tell on the show, you can reach me at mysteriousHuntsman@gmail.com or check me on Facebook. I've also just been added to iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere I can get this out to everyone. So thanks again, guys, and tune in, and we'll see you next time.